welcome back to my channel. So yes, I am in the same t-shirt once again. As I said, I am bulk filming pretty much this series of how I revised for my GCSEs. So this one is going to be how I revised GCSE German, but it would apply to all languages, I imagine. As I said in the first video, as a bit of context, I managed to get an A star in my GCSE German. German was one of the subjects that I didn't like to start with, but I started liking it more and more and more as it kind of started making more sense. So yeah, let's get on to the tips. So the first thing I'd say is Quizlet is an absolute lifesaver for learning any vocab. So nearer the beginning of year 10, I found the compulsory vocab online and I typed it all into Quizlet and I'd start learning little bits. I didn't do that much at that point, but over the summer I tried to learn like a set a week or a topic a week or something. I can't remember exactly what I did, but the summer between year 10 and 11 I tried to start learning all the vocabs that then before the exam I'd only have to go over it rather than learn it from scratch. And then I'd also type up some of the vocab we learned in lessons that was extra onto Quizlet, because Quizlet is amazing. I'd always use the write one because I found the learn one wasn't as helpful for me. So yeah, I would do the writing and I'd just type it out and I'd just be on my laptop. I think I tried to do it every morning in exam season. The first thing I'd do every morning was go through a topic of Quizlet words, just to keep them refreshed in your mind, because with vocab especially, repetition is key just to keep it in your head. Another thing that I found really helpful for German was talking to myself in German. So things like if I was going to have a shower, I would say to myself in German, I'm going to have a shower, or I'm going to have a bath, or I'm going to bed, or I'm going to eat dinner. Anything like that, I would just try and say it to myself in German. And the same applies for if you've got friends who also study German, then talk to them in German. I remember before my German mock oral, me and my friend, we spoke German together for the previous 3 days. We'd just have conversations in German, and yes, there'd be random English words in there when conversations were not about things that we'd learnt about in German, but it was really helpful and it makes you sound more fluent, especially because you sort of, it just makes it easier to almost makes you think in German, which is really helpful in an oral. For my oral, I had pre-prepared most of the questions that were asked, so I just typed them out and I used the blurting method to learn them. So I would read it to myself out loud a few times, then I would turn over the piece of paper and grab a piece of scrap paper and just write out as much of it as I can remember. Then I'd mark it and then I would try and write it out again. And if I got it all right, then I'd move on to the next question. If not, then I'd write it out again. But then after I've gone to the next question, I would then go back to the previous question to make sure I'd still remembered that. And I would keep doing that. And then I'd go sort of back 3 questions, that sort of thing. But I never learnt more than 5 in a day. So I had like a 5 questions a day thing. Again, I did that over the summer between year 10 and year 11 for most of the the topics that we'd done before year 11. I just learnt them all. They weren't obviously set in stone because you have to improvise whatever question is asked that you hadn't prepared for. But it's just helpful to have a basis, and I found it was just good for my confidence level to have something for every question already prepared. I didn't stick to all of them. But another thing that's good for orals is to learn some idiomatic phrases. So things like how to say or I know I say that a lot in German so that it just sounds again more fluent. And also things like I learned how to say I've lost my trail of thought in German, so that if I did have a mind blank, it sounded more fluent again. And I think you lose marks if you say anything in English. And another thing that's helpful to learn how to say is how to ask, how do you say blah in German? Or French or Spanish or whatever language you do, because again you lose marks if you say anything in English, but you are allowed to ask for words and they are allowed to give them to you, because that happened in my mock. I'd started a sentence, then realised I didn't know how to say a word, and rather than having to change it or just stopping, I just changed it to how do you say that in German? And your teacher replies, and then you just continue on, and I didn't lose any marks for that. As with absolutely every other subject, I would recommend past papers, especially for listening. Actually, past papers are so important. It gets you familiar with the style of writing, speaking and listening, well, everything basically. It just gets you familiarised with how the exam board write it and stuff, which is always so helpful. Obviously you can't do past papers for speaking, but if your school offers like speaking sessions, go to them. It's really helpful, especially if you can do it with the person that you're doing your oral with, so you get comfortable talking to them in a different language. It's really helpful to just keep that going and just practice. So yeah, that is all of my tips for GCSE languages. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!